The community garden I'd built over 7 years was bulldozed overnight for a parking lot. The historical society records I found stopped the entire development project. 53 plots, 200 families, 7 years of growth in a neighborhood that had nothing green for blocks. I started the Riverside Community Garden after my husband died. Needed something to do with my hands, something to nurture when everything else was gone. The empty lot had been abandoned for decades. City-owned, forgotten. I submitted permits, organized volunteers, begged donations from hardware stores. First year, 12 plots. Tomatoes and beans grown by families who'd never touched soil before. By year 7, we had a waiting list. Summer programs for kids, cooking classes using harvest produce, a community built around dirt and seeds and shared purpose. Then Morrison Development bought the adjacent property. They wanted the lot for parking, claimed their commercial project required additional spaces, filed paperwork requesting the city sell them our garden. I attended every council meeting, brought families who'd transformed their health through fresh vegetables, showed photos of children learning where food comes from. The council voted to sell anyway. Economic development, tax revenue, progress. We had 60 days to harvest everything and clear out. I spent those days crying and organizing, relocating what we could, saying goodbye to plots people had tended for years. Then someone showed up at 3 a.m. with bulldozers. No warning, no final harvest, just destruction while we slept. I arrived at dawn to devastation. 7 years of growth reduced to churned mud, tomato cages twisted, fruit trees splintered, the little library box where we'd shared gardening books crushed under treads. The city claimed miscommunication about timeline. Morrison Development expressed regret for any inconvenience. Inconvenience. That's what they called destroying a community. I should have given up. I was 67 years old, tired, grieving all over again. Instead, I got angry. The lot had history. I'd always known that vaguely. Old-timers mentioned it was something important once. I'd never investigated. Now I did. The Historical Society archives were dusty but thorough. That lot in 1921 had been the site of the Riverside Settlement House, a community center that served immigrant families during a time when the city provided nothing, run by women, funded by donations, destroyed in a fire but never forgotten by the families it had helped. More digging revealed something crucial. The settlement house had been nominated for historical landmark status in 1985. The nomination was never completed due to administrative oversight, but the intent was documented. The historical significance was established. I contacted the State Preservation Office. They were very interested. Turns out destroying a site with documented historical significance, even incomplete landmark status, triggers mandatory review. Development cannot proceed until historical impact is assessed. Morrison Development's parking lot project was frozen immediately. The assessment took 14 months. Historians documented the settlement house history. Community members testified about the garden's continuation of that service legacy. The ruling was decisive. The site qualified for historical protection. Development was denied. The city was required to maintain the land for community use. Morrison Development sued, lost, appealed, lost again. We rebuilt the garden last spring, bigger than before. Historical marker at the entrance telling both stories. The settlement house that served immigrants a century ago, the garden that serves their grandchildren today. The mayor attended the reopening. Same mayor who'd voted to sell us out. Smiled for photos like he'd supported us all along. I smiled back. Politicians need to believe they're on the right side of history. The garden taught me that history is what you dig up and defend. 57 plots now. 300 families. A waiting list that grows every season. Morrison Development built their project elsewhere. Smaller. Less profitable. No parking lot. I still garden every morning. Same plot I started after my husband died. The tomatoes taste better now. Victory is excellent fertilizer.